Okay, so my name's Ray Holder. I'm an associate lecturer and a third year PhD student at UWS, University of Western Scotland. I'm undertaking research on the analysis of the application of virtual reality and gamification to computer science education. I work in the School of Computing Engineering and Physical Sciences, and that's within the UWS Immersive department. I'll tell you a little bit about the UWS Immersive departments. Um, so, UWS Immersive is a research group within UWS that focuses on researching immersive, virtual, augmented, and mixed reality technologies, and the way users interact with them to help them transform the way that we teach, conduct our research, and engage with society. We have a number of researchers looking at using VR as a training tool within areas of education, health and well-being, and VR in film and media, and within industry as well. Um, so a quick basic overview of VR for anybody who's not that familiar. And this is VR is open to interpretation, but this is the way that we look at it. So generally, you use a VR headset, which is, if I move it that side, I think, something like this. There's a few different ones on the market, and these hook up to a computer. There are standalone ones with mobile phones in them or mobile technology in them, but these hook up to a computer, and the computer generates 3D images in a stereoscopic display inside the actual headset. Um, and that is also tracked with has head and hand movement tracking. And that allows a user to feel fully immersed in a virtual environment. And if you've never tried VR, please, when you can, have a go at it. It's one of those things. It's a bit like magic at first. You think, well, it's just a screen in front of me. It can't be that great, but most people have a big wow factor initially. So for our researchers to undertake their studies during the pandemic, we have identified a couple of ways that we can get participants into headsets, and I'll go over a couple of those ways first. So the first one is remotely and remote testing. So this allows a study to be undertaken anywhere, and that's even in lockdown. But to enable remote studies to be undertaken, there are a couple of options that are available. First off is the participants have their own equipment, and this would be a VR headset and probably a VR capable PC. This is a major hurdle for this. So VR can be quite pricey, and it's not that common for people to have these big rigs and equipment at home at the moment. It's becoming more affordable, and the price is coming down, and we have companies like Oculus releasing a lot cheaper mobile headsets. So it's one of those things that's increasing, but VR is still in its infancy. So we've still a few years away from it being the type of thing we can expect people to have in their own homes. Also, a VR application needs to be specially configured for any studies to be carried out remotely. So much like a multiplayer game, you can actually have a couple of participants or two or more participants in a virtual space. And you can also design the application to record the VR session, which can be later analyzed. Another option we have is to send VR equipment out. This way, you're not limited to the small number of participants that already have VR. And this is especially useful if you're trying to get information or the perceptions from newcomers to the platform. However, can be costly if you need to have multiple headsets to send out to participants or to undertake a study. And also, it can stretch the time on any study because you're having to send out equipment, run an experiment, and then wait for the same equipment to be returned before you can then send it to another participant. There is a cheaper cardboard style headset that is more cost effective, And the picture below, one of the pictures there actually shows the cardboard headset, and that is a flat pack cardboard headset that gets built up, and you actually put your mobile phone into it, and the mobile phone acts as the screen. Um, but this is quite limiting. The platform, obviously, it's using a mobile phone, and the experience isn't what we would class as a full VR experience. So you're very limited to what sort of experiment or what sort of data can be used for that. Researchers in the Immersive Lab have used both of these methods over the past, nearly a year now. Since we went into lockdown, we've all had to readjust our planned experiments and come up with different methods. And we've done both the remote testing with their own equipment, and we've sent out these headsets and done studies on using both of those. But of course, not having participants in a controlled lab condition is less than ideal for gathering of reliable data. Um, Third method is obviously the in-person one, which is face-to-face and under current circumstances within Scotland and most of the UK. This is practically impossible because all non-face-to-face, non-essential face-to-face meetings aren't allowed at the moment. So, but hopefully, and when restrictions are relaxed or eased a little bit, we might be able to have some face-to-face studies taking place. Social distancing and health and safety requirements present some additional complications. Um, and obviously, as we all know, COVID-19 spreads by droplets in the people's breath that can be inhaled by others in close contact. Also, these droplets can be transferred to a VR headset because the VR headset goes very close to your face and you're breathing, and those droplets can contaminate any surfaces that um, close by. So there is a small chance that participants picking up the virus through transference when using VR equipment. Uh, we're currently undertaking a study in the Immersive Lab to analyze the perception of risk incurred by the general public when using a shared headset. And this would be if this is in public spaces or in something like a VR arcade or higher education or even in the workplace. And we'll be comparing these perceptions to what's being implemented already by the industry, especially VR arcades. They have a lot of these VR arcades have tried to keep open as entertainment places, especially when we were allowed to have some of these entertainment places open, and some protocols have been put in place. So we'll be doing a comparison on perceptions of whether these are um, up to standard or not. Also, as part of the study, we'll be working with a biologist who's testing cross contamination and the transference and seeing how much of a risk transference is. And we're using a similar virus to the COVID virus. I think it's a variant of the SARS virus. And we'll be seeing what the growth of the or the contamination is onto a VR headset. Um, Personally, I have a study planned, and it was planned ready this time last year, and then we went into lockdown in March. The study should have started in the summer, um, and then I've rewrote the ethics on it, updated it, and had the updated ethics passed in November. To start the study in December, we went into another lockdown, so that got postponed until January, and we're obviously in the situation where we are now in another lockdown, so that is postponed until we can get back onto or get some people back onto campus. Um, and my study is looking at it's getting computer programming or computing students in, and I want to develop a visual programming game in VR to help computer science teaching. So obviously, when I do get the study up and running, hygiene and social distancing protocols will be followed, and we're following the ones that are set out by the Scottish government. and the university's COVID-19 response to the pandemic. A full risk assessment has been carried out, and several concerns have been identified. In order to diminish risk of contamination, we've compiled some guidelines that will allow us to continue the study when we get back to face-to-face teaching, or get back to people being allowed on campus. So more general guidelines or generic guidelines that will probably carry through for anybody who's having participants come on campus are we are going to be using hand sanitizer, and this will be mandatory for everybody involved to be using the hand sanitizer. We also want face coverings to be worn at all times, unless there's a need, unless somebody's exempt from using them. Participants will be scheduled with at least 30 minutes gap between each other. The room allocated for the study is a large enough space. It has windows to open, and we can keep social distancing between all parties. So there will only be two people in the room at any time. That'll be the participant and the principal investigator, and the 2 meter distance will be maintained at all time. Also, the location of the room has been chosen for ease of access on campus. So participants spend the least amount of time on the campus, especially indoors or in corridors. And before this, we've devised a one-way system which will signpost and will be telling the participants where to enter into the university, and there'll be signs pointing directly to the room. A timetable will also be made to avoid any overcrowding, and we don't want people coming early or lingering after the experiment. And where only 2 people will be given a time to attend, so social distancing can be achieved whilst on campus. More guidelines that are probably specific to VR is the VR equipment, the laptops that's used, or the computers that are used, the desk involved will be regularly cleaned, and a cleaning roster will be used to record the cleaning regime in between all the sessions. And we have specialized coverings that will be applied to the VR equipment, which I have a little thing there. So in the inside of the VR headset, this is an actual foam. Most of them are foam. You can get a pleather covering for them, but what we have is these silicone covers, and we have those, and that fits in there. And we also have a silicone cover on all of the controllers. So the silicone acts as a protection barrier between the actual headset and the participant's face or the participant's hands. This silicone is medical grade quality silicone. It's unoiled and it's hyperallergenic, so it makes it a lot safer for more people. And the second thing that we will have is silicone covers, and second thing we'll have is these disposable covers. So they're like a tissue sort of cover, and they stick on the inside of the facial interface. And once so this will be applied before the participant attends, and a new one will be applied for each participant. Once the participant has undertaken the experiment, they can just tear this off and dispose of it in the bins provided. So everybody gets a fresh hygiene cover on before each session. And finally, so all guidelines and information will be provided by email to the registered participants beforehand, and verbally at the start of each individual session, so they definitely know what the guidelines are. Anyone feeling COVID symptoms is advised not to come on campus and to self-isolate within the NHS advice. If anyone develops symptoms whilst on campus or develops symptoms after being on campus, they must immediately arrange to return home and inform the principal investigator by email. And due to the need for contact tracing, all participants will be asked for the email address. So if any of the people involved later test positive, all the other participants will be contacted to inform them that they might need to self-isolate. Um, the university itself also has and will be encouraged any participants or anybody who's coming onto campus to download we have a safe zone app which has been developed by the university, and it's a new free smartphone app that promotes staff and student safety across all campuses, and it will automatically share the location of when you are on campus and where you are on campus with a small team of colleagues, and it can help with the tracing efforts. So, yep, thank you very much. My email address is up there if you need to contact me or have any questions further, or please, if you've got any questions now, I would be happy to answer. Thank you.